Hey guys, and welcome to my Prot Warrior guide for 5.4. I'm going to go through the basics. It's a basic guide for anyone who hasn't played Prot Warrior before and is looking to start. So I'm going to go through the main abilities. You got Charge, Shield Slam, Revenge, Devastate, Shield Block, and Shield Barrier is also a pretty main ability. I'll go through everything in more detail later, but for now I'm going to go through talents. Double Time is what I use, but it's also it's pretty much the best one. It's got great you have great mobility if you use that one. Juggernaut and Wallbringer can be useful in certain situations if you need to root, or if you just need to charge often, I suppose. But Double Time is probably the best one to use in most situations. So yeah, but if you prefer using any ones, it's not a major choice. It's not going to be game breaking. But anyway, so for the next one. Impending Victory isn't that good because it costs Rage, and you want to be using your Rage on Shield Block and Shield Barrier, and I'll talk about that later. But Second Wind is okay, but it's not as good as Enraged Regeneration since it's on demand. And it's only got 1 minute cooldown. It's really nice. So and it can be used while stunned. So and the effects of the world while enraged. So there's a good macro that I'll talk about later with that as well. So for this row is a CC, and it all depends on the fight really. I have Disrupting Shout at the moment just for interrupting. It's not really a major issue. Which one you use, just pick whatever one you like to use, or whatever one you needed for a certain fight. And for this row, Shockwave is probably the best one. Depending on, obviously it depends, but Shockwave can lower damage. If the targets are stunnable. But if it's a single target fight, then you probably want to take Dragon Roar for the DPS, because it's the best one for DPS. Bladestorm is okay if you want to get out of a slow or something, but it's not as good damage. It's not as good damage as Shockwave or Dragon's Roar, and it doesn't lower any damage or anything, damage taken or anything. So you probably want Shockwave for most situations. Dragon Roar for single target DPS. Now this row. Safeguard and Mass Spell Reflection are also situational, but for the most part you want to be using Vigilance. It's really good to put on a tank in a fight, or it's really good to put on anyone who's taking a lot of damage. So, if there's something if you need a Mass Spell Reflection, and do that, blah blah blah. You just take whichever one you need for a fight, but Vigilance is the one you want most of the time. Now on this row, Stormbolt can be useful if you need a stun. Avatar is okay if you need to get out of slows and stuff, but the best one single target DPS is Bloodbath, which is if you're on a boss, what you want to be doing is while not tanking, or while tanking, I suppose you want to be doing as much damage as you can as well, don't you? So tank DPS nowadays is a pretty big part of the whole raid DPS. So you want to have Bloodbath most of the time, Storm Battle if you need it, and Avatar if you need it, I suppose. Now, for glyphs, there's a few you can use, but the main ones are Heavy Repercussions, Hold the Line, and Insight. Heavy Repercussions, while your Shield Block is active, you deal more damage with Shield Slam. Hold the Line makes improves your damage of your next Revenge following a successful parry by 50%, and Insight makes your next 3 heroic strikes or cleaves free after using Demoralizing Shout. There are a few others you can use, but there's none that lower damage taken or anything, so you just want the best DPS ones. Shield Wall glyph is okay, but most of the time you don't want to take that because it lowers the what it does is, I'll read it out. Where is it? Because I do have it. Or do I have it? Maybe no, I don't have it. But Shield Wall now reduces damage taken by an additional 20%, but its cooldown is increased to 2 minutes, or by 2 minutes even. Now you could use that if obviously if you need it, but the 2 minute increase on the cooldown is not worth it most of the time. So take it if you do really need it, but obviously these 3 are the main ones. The main ones I use anyway. There's a few others you can use instead for DPS, but anyway. So there's two. I'm going to go for a stat priority, but there's 2 kind of different ways you can go with this. Now there's full avoidance and full crit. Well, if you've got good gear, which I don't, well, it's okay. If you've got good gear, you want to be going the full crit build. If you've not got that good gear, then you probably want to go the full avoidance build. The full avoidance build is the hit cap and expertise cap. That's 7.5% hit and 50% expertise. And then it's parry and dodge, and then mastery. So you want to get as much parry and dodge and as much mastery as possible after you've got your hit and expertise caps. Now for the full crit build, it's hit and expertise caps again, so 7.5% and 15%, and then it's full crit and then mastery with whatever the stats you have left over to reforge to. But it's more, you get more rage with the crit build. So overall, it's still a bit more survivability. I'd say it's more survivability, but if you don't have that good gear, then you probably want to go with the avoidance build. I've gone the avoidance build at the moment. But I'm not even hit cap. I'm not even expertise capped, as you see. It's only 15%. That's how bad my gear is. Well, I could probably make it, but I lose so much mastery and so much dodge and parry, and I don't really want to go for it. But I'm hit capped. I'm almost hit capped. 0.02% chance of missing. That's not really going to make much of a difference. So now I'm going to go through rotation. It's not really a rotation. It's just sort of a priority of abilities you have up that you want to be using. Now you want to use Shield Slam on cooldown, as it gives you 20 rage while you're in defensive stance. You want to always be in defensive stance. Use Revenge on cooldown, as it also gives you 20 rage. Devastate is a filler, and to apply the weakened armor. But if there's a druid in the raid that can also apply it with Fairy Fire, you probably don't need to use it. But you use it as a filler anyway. But you don't need it for the stacks, of course. Thunderclap on cooldown. Thunderclap to keep up the weakened blows debuff, but if you don't have anything else to use, like if everything's on cooldown, you want to use Thunderclap, especially if it's AoE. Well, I'll talk about the multi-target rotation in a sec, but Heroic Strike is to use excess rage, which you probably won't have much rage that you could, like, you probably won't unless you've used, let's say, I'm pretty sure, let's have a look. Beginner Roots, it's not that anymore. They changed that, didn't they? But you know, let's say you've used Rage Regeneration, right? And you've used your Shout or whatever. You want to be using, and you've got too much rage or whatever. You want to use Heroic Strike or whatever. But in a multi-target situation, it's basically the same, except you want to use Thunderclap a lot more if you're not using it that much in single target, because you don't use it that much in single target. You basically want to keep the debuff up that it gives, and you've got other moves you might want to use, but you want to use that on cooldown, and then you want to use Cleave instead of Heroic Strike. Now, personally, I don't use much of Cleave and Heroic Strike unless I use Demoralizing Shout, or unless you get a, let me go find it so I can read it out. There it is. Where is it? It is. I'll find it at some point, but I'll talk about whatever while I'm. Oh, where is that? It? No, that is not it. Your Shield Slam. Yeah, here it is. Your Shield Slam critical strikes make your next Heroic Strike and Cleave cost no rage. So whenever you get that up, or whenever you use Demoralizing Shout, that's when you want to use Cleave and Heroic Strike. But personally, I like to save the rage because Shield Block costs 60 and Shield Barrier can cost up to 60. So you want to, and you can only have 100 obviously, so you're going to want to be saving as much rage as possible for those abilities. Now, I'm going to go into Shield Block and Shield Barrier into a little bit of detail. You want to use Shield Block for auto attacks, and you want to be using Shield Barrier for bleed/magic damage, right? But there is, I don't really want to go into too much detail as this is just a basic guide, but there is other times where you want to be using Shield Barrier instead of Shield Block, depending on how many auto attacks you're going to be taking and how big of the barrier is going to be, because it increases with the attack power, so that increases with how much vengeance you have. So I will leave a link in the description, so if you want to read into more detail about it, so you can look at that. Okay, so now I'm going to go through cooldowns. You got offensive cooldowns, defensive cooldowns, and some utility cooldowns. And you got some rage cooldowns, which I'll talk about those in a sec. So you've got Last Stand, which increases your maximum health by 30%. You have Shield Wall, which reduces all damage taken by 40% for 12 seconds. Spell Reflect, which reflects a spell. Demoralizing Shout, which demoralizes all enemies within 10 yards, reducing damage they do to you by 20%, which is a really good cooldown. It's really short, it's 1 minute. You got Demoralizing Banner, which is basically the same but for the raid, and Rallying Cry, which is like Last Stand for the raid. So these two you want to use when your raid leader wants them, or most of the time anyway, so you wait till the raid leader shouts out for those cooldowns. For your defensive cooldowns, you got Bloodbath, which is the talent which I took. But you'd have Avatar or Stormbolt depending on which talent you take. You have Recklessness and Berserker Rage, and you also have Shattering Throw and Skull Banner, which are for the raid. So you're again ready to shout them out. You got Mocking Banner, which is like the old. I can't remember what the skill is called. It was a thing that taunted everyone around you. As like the warriors used to have that, but it wasn't a banner. It was like a shout or whatever. Commanding shout, I think it was. No, it was. Was it? Was it called Commanding Shout? One sec. No, it wasn't called Commanding Shout. That's Commanding Shout. So I can't remember the name, but you know, if you remember, then it's basically that. But it basically taunts everyone around you. You have Taunt, which is a taunt. Heroic Leap is nice for repositioning yourself. Intervene's also nice for that, but it also intercepts the next melee hit, or next melee and range hit on a player. So that's good for saving people's lives or whatever. You got Intimidate Shout, which is a fear. You got Pummel, which is Interrupt, and Disarm, which is a disarm. Basically, it's pretty straightforward there. But warriors have quite nice utility overall for the raid. They got quite a lot of raid cooldowns, and they got like quite a lot. They got quite a few. Well, they've only got like really 2 cooldown. Well, it's 3 defensive cooldowns really, but it just sort of feel like compared to a paladin at least, I feel like they have less cooldowns, but they have a lot more raid cooldowns, I think, overall. With the banners and stuff nowadays, like paladins used to have a lot more, but anyway, forget paladins because we're gonna go through warrior stuff. We're gonna go through gems and professions and enchants. Professions, well, they're pretty straightforward. You gotta have ones that give stats, like I do for because this used to be my main back at like one point in kata, but blacksmithing and jewel crafting are quite nice for a warrior, but there's not much to really talk about on professions. But now I'm gonna go for gems. But again, like there's 2 different ones. You can go full crit, full avoidance, and then there's also, if you need hit and expertise, you go for hit and expertise gems. So for avoidance, you want a defender's gem or a solid gem, and for red and yellow, you want stalwart gems. For the meta gem, this is for all types of gemming. You want either, I don't know how to say it, but I think I have it. Yeah, it's this one. You want that one there. I can't say that word. Austere. I don't know. But anyway, you want either that one or the legendary gem if you can get that. I don't have that one in this character. And then for full crit, one sec, let me find it. For full crit, you want an accurate / guardian. No, that's hidden expertise. Oh my god. For full crit, you want jagged or piercing gems. For blue sockets, for red sockets, you want crafty gems. For yellow sockets, you want smooth gems. For hidden expertise, if you need more, for yellow and red, you want resolute gems. For blue, you want accurate or guardian gems, depending on if you want HP or both hidden expertise. I'm pretty sure that's what the accurate one is. Anyway, for enchants, for your shoulders, you want the inscription enchant. For 300 stamina, 100 dodge. For your back, you want 200 stamina. For your chest, you want 300 stamina. For your braces, there's either a dodge one or a mastery one. I went for mastery. For your weapon, River Song or Colossus works. Parry on your shield. For your boots, you want Pandora and Step, which is the 140 mastery and minor speed increase. For your legs, you want the wet level working one, the 430 stamina, 165 dodge. For your belt, you want the extra socket. And for your I've got different gems than what I said. That's because I like the mastery. I haven't changed my gems in a while, mainly because it's an alt and I don't really want to spend money on gems. For your gloves, you want I got expertise as I'm not expertise character, or you can get there is I think it was a dodge one I had, or a parry one or something. But there's a stamina one with the shark hit. The shark hit thing, it gives like 170 stamina or something. It's from level working. So yeah, they're the gems and enchants, and I will go over I will talk about some macros. I'll post the macros in the description, as I don't have all of them that I'm going to talk about, as I don't like the fact that you only get this much space for macros, because I need a lot more than that. I have a few. There's cancel Bladestorm if you take Bladestorm, which is Where is it? There is cancelaura Bladestorm, and then there's also cancel Hand of Protection / Sacrifice from a paladin, which is basically the same. It's cancelaura, and then Hand of Protection, Hand of Sacrifice. There's this macro here is really nice because if you use Berserker Rage and using Enraged Regeneration, it increases how much health you get back. So this macro here casts Berserker Rage, and then it casts Enraged Regeneration, so you want to always do that, like when using Enraged Regeneration. And that is two other ones. There is intervene, like an intervene mouse over macro, and a vigilance mouse over macro, which is right here. It's basically, there's not much you can't. I don't know if you can read them, but I'll post them in the description. It's target equals mouse over dot help, and then like they're in the square brackets, intervene and whatever. I'll post it in the description anyway, so you can see them, so you can copy and paste them yourself. So yeah, I'm gonna do another video which will be me doing a dungeon probably, because in the dungeon I can then show you some AoE rotation and then some single target rotation. So yeah, this has been Prot Warrior Guide, and if it has helped, leave a like, and I'll see you guys in part 2 of the Prot Warrior Guide, and take care.